Welcome one, welcome all, welcome to Monday and Countdown Day. And you know what? Last week we looked at, as voted on by fans, the top 10 Transformers that fans were, reluctant to buy, but they ended up loving. Well, this time we're going to kind of flip it around a bit. We're going to have the, again, as voted on by fans, top 10 Transformers that are your biggest regrets, right? We are all used to being hyped for something, wanting something. And it might be Transformers, maybe you collect something different, maybe you collect plates or whatever. Again, I think that the idea of regret is not something new to collectors. We get something, we're excited about it, but it doesn't quite live up to the hype or the expectation, and we end up saying, you know what? Maybe I never should have got this one. I'll tell you now, stick around for after we do the list and the honorable mentions and whatnot, because there were like 6 pages of votes. There were a lot. I'm going to try and cover as many as I can. However, the crux will be those 10 slots and which Transformers fans see as the biggest buying regrets. That's our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby! Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and I'll let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in that description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And like I said, there are a lot that I'll try and get to as many as I can at the end. Very, very interesting the way the voting went here, of course. Our honorable mentions, we have 2. These are, remember, the Transformers that fans basically see as, I was hyped for it, I bought it, it is a buying regret. Buyer's remorse, I suppose you could say. Honorable mentions, Beast Machines Optimus Primal. I really don't know the offering that well, but I've never heard anything good about it. I've heard that it suffers certain breakage issues. In fact, one of the voters, if I'm not mistaken, said that they bought not 1, not 2, but 3 of the guy, and all 3 of them broke, I think in the same place. So that would definitely be a weakness. The other is a shock. And the reason people gave for this other honorable mention is because they said it's just too big. Which I find interesting because a lot of people said, this is the size that I wanted. And it's, get this, Siege Jetfire, or Skyfire if you will. One guy that voted said he found the proportions weird and he preferred the Fans Toys Phoenix. That's up to you, but I mean, I wouldn't even put the 2 in the same. One is supposed to be mainline, the other is supposed to be MP, but I didn't limit line or anything like that. If you found it to be a buying remorse, then you found it to be a buying remorse. I personally think that Siege Jetfire is one of the best that they've ever done. Love the guy. Neither Beast Machines Optimus Primal or Siege Jetfire appeared on the list. And some of the list I get, some of it I don't. But again, it's amassed by all of you. So you know what we're going to do now? We're going to kick the main list off by starting with number 10. First. Coming in at number 10, we have Kingdom Rhinox. And some people said, look, I wanted to get this guy because I thought that his Gatling guns were painted better. I wanted to get this guy because I had the generations and the hips were super loose. I wanted to get this guy because I thought the color of the skin was a little better. Although I would say that the Takara Versus pack that's like super brown is probably the best of the skin. But then the people that ended up having it in hand said, then I end up regretting it because the transformation is harsh and unenjoyable, especially the lower legs here and the rear rhino legs for sure. They said he doesn't have his maximal symbols on his head. The gold is a little too muted. The green is a little too off green. It should be a bit of a deeper type of green. People ended up wanting this to improve on the generations with a couple of minor gripes there, and ended up hating this guy. Didn't like the transformation, didn't think the colors were quite right, and honestly, that's enough. Even if the articulation is great, when you only have one thing going for you out of 3 basic metrics, that ain't so good. Fans regret this guy enough that he was able to take the number 10 slot. Now, I sort of thought that number 9 was going to appear on the list, but I wasn't sure where number 9 was going to appear on the list. It would be kind of this. It's Earthrise Arcee, although this is the paradramatic copy of the mold. That Arcee, like, I know Input loves it. He loves the Earthrise Arcee. A lot of people said, well, right away, there's parts for me, because I don't want this big, ugly backpack on it, and I know that this can come off and be like a skid thing that she stands on. Some people said, as you just saw, weak knees. Some people said doesn't like to stand up with the weight that's on the back. Some people said they, didn't see it really as a transformer because all you're doing is crumpling the body up underneath a shell. And some people said you can just take the whole thing off and lay it to the side. Great robot, great car, but not really a transformer. And some people said for the Arcee, for sure, that it didn't have enough paint. It needed more details. I would argue and say that the earlier generations mold, this is just me being personal now, this isn't anything that any fans said. Personally, I think the earlier generations mold was better than this. I think the Studio Series 86, at least my copy of the Studio Series 86 Arcee, is better than this. That said, I didn't have any of like the waist issues and stuff that people have had with that Arcee. This one, because of its parts forming, because of its bulky backpack, because of its weak knees, Earthrise Arcee was a regret for many buyers, and she took the number 9 slot. Number 8 takes us back to the Kingdom line, and this guy, Scorponok, and this isn't good. The tail plastic feels cheap, the leg plastic feels cheap, the texture detail is nice. While nobody mentioned this, I personally can't stand the way the chest and head transforms, and I find it's very just hit or miss if it works and tabs in. I don't find it smooth at all. A lot of people cited the leg transformation not being much fun, and the way that the foot has to go up like kind of through, or the, I don't know what you call it, the toe hook, I guess, go up through like this hole here is cumbersome. It's too small. Although I don't know if it's really too small, to be honest with you. I think it's about the right size. This, compared to the original Scorponok, is an abysmal failure. It's not a good Scorponok. It has a good look, great look, captures them nicely, whether you have this one or one of the other versions of it. But to call it an enjoyable, fun mold, I just don't think is the truth. And a lot of fans don't think it's the truth. And that's why Kingdom Scorponok here took the number 8 slot. Stay with me now, because at number 7, we have a version of this character. This is the Transformers Prime Arcee that they did in the Legacy line, kind of sort of using this mold. This is Ariel, or Ariel if you will. So they took this motorcycle character. By the way, her discoloration is brutal. This one belongs to one of the scraplets, not me. I can understand from the bicycles, from the motorcycles, I understand the comparison. I get why you would adapt this to something like this. As a matter of fact, being Ariel, this is remolded around the front. The front actually looks more like this. But in robot mode, a lot of people said, look, the transformation isn't intuitive. She had loose arms, she had loose legs. The face looks nothing like Arcee. Yeah, you can paint it black and blue, but at the end of the day, it looks like something that just got beat up rather than something that was well planned. Legacy Arcee. An attempt they made at an homage for Transformers Prime Arcee that a lot of fans feel like just fell flat. I personally didn't even get it. I have the Road Rocket version, which I wasn't a fan of, and this version, which I actually am a fan of. By the way, I'm pretty sure I got this mistransformed. I just tried to do it super quick for here on camera. Again, it's not intuitive. Legacy Prime Arcee. Yes, she absolutely takes the number 7 slot. Now, number 6, I personally find baffling. Maybe you'll agree with it, maybe you won't, but number 6 is Legacy Tarn. Legacy Evolution Tarn, I believe. Like, what? I would venture to say that this guy is in the running for most people, based on the chatter I've heard, that this guy is well in the running for Figure of the Year. Well in the running for it, with his wide range of articulation, his interesting and involved transformation, and a ton of paint. Now, that said, people that voted for him as a buying regret, a buying remorse, if you will, said that he feels small, and he is, but up until now, fans hand over fist have just accepted that, Voyagers and stuff are getting smaller, and gladly said, I'm gonna buy it anyway. After all, people went in on like that Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. the Ironhide, right? And they both have less paint, less parts, and less mass than this guy. People also said that this was a deal breaker for them. The fact that when, and I didn't even notice this only came up to me, that when you put the arm out straight, the shoulder can't go out. Like, I guess it goes out down here, but when you do this, it doesn't. I didn't really notice it because when the arm's up like that, I expect the arm, I guess, to go across the body more than go out for a T-pose like that. Like, if I wanted to do a T-pose and move the arm around, I would do it like this and move the arm around like this, personally. But an interesting articulation limit that I didn't notice. Some people said, like I said, he feels light. And some people said that they just don't know the character. So they didn't get blown away by the mold, and they didn't care about the character enough to really want to keep it. So some people, get this, returned him. I mean, that's a mark of a purchasing remorse, purchasing regret. When you get something, good or not, and you feel like it's just underwhelming and return it. How can you argue with enough fans unimpressed with the underwhelming Tarn that he was able to take the number 6 slot? And now a hush falls over the crowd because we're at the ever coveted, ever popular, you know where we are, the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark today, we have one that I totally get. I hated this thing from day one, and I was ecstatic when I got an update. I'm talking about Power of the Primes Evolution, I think it was, Leader Class Rodimus Prime. I mean, great alt mode. I'll give credit where credit is due. Great alt mode. The hot rod I've used as Rodimus, though I will admit the shoulders on it pretty limited, and I always found detaching them from the bumper, I suppose we'll call it, and angling them down, that's a very tight tolerance. The shoulders have a very limited T-pose range, really limited T-pose range. The knees have a little bit of front extension, a little bit too much front extension for my taste. The coloration's a little off. We had some stickers down here, though my stickers have stayed on just fine. I think the core version here and the car that it is okay. I think the trailer is okay. In fact, I even did a version where the trailer can become like his battle platform, which is all right. I think all that's okay. The forward motion on the legs of the smaller hot rod was abysmal. I actually tried to fix it by cutting and shaving a little bit of way at the waist and ended up, well, the guy kind of breaks in half. But he will hold together because of how everything clips in on the hood and with the backpack. Then we put the guy together. Major parts forming to make this guy into the bigger Rodimus Prime. And then when we get to the Rodimus Prime, you have very ugly, ineffective, obtrusive arms with very strange shoulder legs that don't really seem to lock in anywhere. You have definitely something that's bigger, but to say that it looks like Rodimus Prime, I think is a bit of a stretch, especially now that we have the robot mode of the Commander class version that we got just a little while later. This is an example of one that I bought as well because I wanted a version of Rodimus Prime, but I instantly regretted it from day one. I get the voters with this one. Totally understand them. I found it more successful using it apart, but I can't say it was successful apart or together in any great degree. Enough fans felt the same way that Rodimus Prime from Power of the Primes was able to take the number 5 slot. And as we go into top 4 territory, at number 4 we have this guy. That's right, it is the Universe Classics Ironhide. A lot of people really give this a hard time. They don't like this deluxe offering, and I understand it. In vehicle mode, it looks more like an SUV than anything else, with an awful lot of like puzzly paneliness on the sides, especially around the windows. In robot mode, a lot of people say they didn't like the blue face. I had this and sold it. Mine had the silver face, which I was thankful for. I liked the chest with the detailing behind it, but a lot of people said that they found that a hindrance to the arm movement, and they said that the waist never did tab in the way it's supposed to. I'll agree with you about the waist. To be fair, I enjoyed the transformation for this Ironhide back in the day, and for some time he stood as my Ironhide, and I was quite content with it. Of course, then we eventually got the Combiner Wars, which I thought was even worse again. We got the Siege, which I think is probably the best robot mode we had. And since then, of course, we've got the Earthrise, and probably the one that most fans deem as the best for the main line. I think it's debatable, the Studio Series 86. But Despite all of that evolution, it's safe to say that the original here did not age that well, and it had a lot of issues even at release. At the time we got it because, you know what? It was a version of Ironhide and we all needed it. But so many fans after they got him regretted him for his weaknesses that they said as soon as there's a new one available, I am going to upgrade. That would be quite a regret. And fans felt enough about that regret that old Ironhide here was able to take the number 4 slot. Man, there's a strong argument at number 3 for voting for this one. In fact, honestly, I might have voted for this one myself, and it is Studio Series Car Mode Shatter. I transformed her from robot to vehicle, vehicle back to robot, and then on the review I done the transformation again, and I have never ever ever transformed this since, and I never ever will. This is a garbage transformation with a garbage, highly limited robot in the end. This for me will forever be in this car mode. I detest this thing. I infinitely love the jet version of Shatter more than this, and she serves as the robot, as the jet, and if I ever want to use her as car mode, then I'll go to this. The only redeeming quality is the licensed vehicle. The transformation, a cumbersome, lazily engineered, ineffective hunk of junk. The robot, so wildly limited on articulation, with terrible proportions and tolerances, that it's not even worth the effort to get into it. I understand it. An instant buying, remorse, regret, whatever you want to call it, the only redeeming factor is the beautiful car mode, and I don't know if that's enough for a deluxe class price point. This thing needed a lot more design work. Fans feel the same way, and this took the number 3 slot. And we are almost at the very tippy top. But before we get to number 1, we got number 2. And at number 2 is an oldie but a baddie with this guy. Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree that they wanted a version of Galvatron. But when this deluxe, universe version came out, and they used the mold a few times, I think a lot of people were severely let down. Look, we've talked about it before. Everybody knows that originally that Galvatron is supposed to be a Voyager. That's why he was also supposed to have like this walking mode, and that's why there are vestigial feet in the tank. That didn't pan out. He got downsized. They basically done a bunch of cost cutting. It affected the transformation. It affected the articulation. One arm is super duper loose and likes to fall off the ball joint. Otherwise, it has great articulation. The other arm, the one with the cannon, highly limited, a lot more than it should have been. When you cost cut, you take something that probably had potential as a decent design, and you basically end up ruining it. We all know that the head like to fall down in the body. We all know that the legs like to come off. And we're not talking about Studio Series Cup, right? They're not supposed to. They just came off because it was poorly done. Compromised articulation, compromised transformation, compromised size. Again, here's a perfect example of, we got a Galvatron because we wanted a Galvatron, and this one had potential, but once we got it in hand, you know what? That money would have been better spent in our pocket. And enough fans feel that way that old Galvatron here was able to take the number 2 slot. And here we are at the very tippy top, number 1. I told you that we were close to it. And number 1 is a perfect example of how this is definitely 100% based on fan votes, because I never would have voted for this character. I actually have had nothing but a positive experience with this mold. I really enjoy it, to be honest with you. And you're not going to believe this one because of what I just said, but you're going to believe it because you're going to say, oh yeah, me too. I bet you will, because a lot of fans voted for, as their biggest buying remorse regret, Kingdom Tracks. A lot of people said, look, super loose hips. I cannot do the transformation. I could not get the arms pegged in. I can't figure out the legs at all. You got to go and watch my review. The legs are so easy. All it is collapsing the knee, and the whole side just flips up over the hip after you extend the body. I don't know how else to explain it. I really don't. Some people said that there's a little thing here that the side tabs into. It doesn't do it. It just doesn't tab in it. I do find it a bit looser on my Road Rage, but not to the degree that a lot of people have experienced, apparently. I don't know what else to say. A lot of people said loose hips, and they said the leg transformation is really bad, and they couldn't fit the arms in. I can't relate. I haven't had any of those issues, but that's what fans claimed, and who am I to argue with them, you know? If I was to find a gripe about this mold myself, I would say I wish we had more detailing up on these wings. I will say this. After recently reviewing the KO of MP Road Rage, I do feel like certain things about that were borrowed here, but I honestly feel like that this is more successful than the MP was. And maybe, just maybe, the MP tracks is bad, maybe the Kingdom tracks is bad, maybe the Generations tracks is still the be-all, end-all best. But, for top 10 Transformers that fans regret buying, buyer's remorse, Kingdom tracks takes number 1. There you go, 10 down to 1 once again. Let's saddle in and do a bunch of the other votes that people had. Studio Series, Cheetor got some votes, which is interesting because he had votes on the best list as well and appeared on that. RID 2015 Starscream because of his weird nose cone. Some people said difficult transformation. I thought it was a very interesting transformation. I wasn't a big fan of his shoulders either. It looked like they were trying to give a nod to like his coronation set shoulders, and it looked a bit strange. What else do we have here? Kingdom Cyclonus because of the yellowing, Studio Series Coronation Starscream, Studio Series B-Movie Starscream. I find that interesting because I love the, I guess, thrust version of it that I use for Leash Maximo. Combiner Wars Devastator. Just too big, somebody said. MP5 Megatron had some votes. Core Class Soundwave, which I find interesting. A lot of people like that one. MP Skyfire. Studio Series Jetfire from the movie. The original Jetfire that goes with, I want to say, the Leader Class Optimus Prime to make that Jetwing Optimus Prime. I reviewed that a while ago, too. It's a heck of a Jetfire. Power of the Primes Jazz. Leader, Age of Extinction Grimlock. Not one that I reviewed, but some people said the chrome really cracks up and it's not a fun transformation with a weird looking dino mode. The KFC Mug and Scope, Earthrise Optimus Prime, that one surprised me. Siege Ultra Magnus, Fans Project Menasor. Argos, exclusive 2-pack Energon Optimus Prime. I don't even know the 2-pack. Generations Centuritron, which was the like 3 Minicons that they did as the Minicon combiner. That was awful. That was so bad. MPM Bumblebee, the 2 versions of MPM Bumblebee, as a matter of fact. Somebody said Shockwave, but they didn't specify from what line. Revenge of the Fallen Jetfire, which I already said. Cloud Soundwave. Let's see. The VNR Optimus Prime, the Troop Builder set. I don't know how many people even have that one. Let's see, let's go on here. iGears Veer, G1 Devastator, Revenge of the Fallen Blazemaster, Revenge of the Fallen Depth Charge, Alternators Grimlock, Beast Wars 10th Anniversary Dinobot. Dark of the Moon Ultimate Optimus Prime. Yeah, that was a rough one too. The articulation gets super limited on it. HasLab Victory Saber, HasLab Unicron, Revenge of the Fallen Brawn. The Energon Grimlock and Swoop combining 2-pack. I have no idea what that is. MP Hound. Beast Wars Transmetal Scavenger, Vintage Beast Wars Megatron, Siege Chromia, I get that one. Titans Return Megatron, that was the triple changing Megatron. Apollyon, if you remember the early days of MP Megatrons. Omnigonic Spin Out. Titans Return Fortress Maximus. Takara Legends, I guess Titans Return Overlord. Let's see, Combiner Wars. Actually, I think it was Titans Return Galvatron, the one that was the triple changer with the headmastery gimmick. Beast Machines, Savage Noble, Primus. I love my Primus. I'm surprised that one got votes. MP21 Bumblebee. Surprised with that one too. I actually enjoyed that, and I'm not an MP guy. Earthrise Starscream, G1 Rodimus Prime. Transmetals, Optimus Primal. The Legacy Skullgrin, although I really like that one. Armada Blur. Animated Blur. Armada Blur. The 07 original movie line Bumblebee. Studio Series Bumblebee Ironhide. Let's keep going here. Beast Machines Megatron. Power of the Prime Starscream, wasn't a great torso. Beast Wars Neo, I think it was. Mac Kick, the one that turns to a horse. G1 Wreck-Gar. Beast Machines Supreme Cheetor. Animated Leader Megatron, that one surprised me a little bit. Siege Megatron. Legacy Blitzwing, the Millennium Falcon crossover, XTBs, Menasor, Fans Toys, Menasor, the Expanse crossover, the Kingdom Inferno, the Kingdom Slammer, Legacy Point Blank, Legacy Menasor, Titans Return Power Master Optimus Prime because it didn't have the smaller inner robot and it was a Headmaster, not a Power Master. MPM Ironhide. The Studio Series Ironhide for the movie is way better. The MPM Ironhide is terrible. Age of Extinction Leader Class Optimus Prime because of his mammoth backpack. Armada Sideways. Dark of the Moon Mixmaster. Studio Series The Last Night Walmart exclusive Hot Rod. That was the Last Night exclusive Hot Rod. Then the Studio Series Hot Rod as well. So two different ones there, sorry. The Last Night Voyager Megatron. Dark of the Moon Jolt. Yes Model Defensor. Thrilling 30 Springer. That one shocked me. Trans-scanning Bumblebee. Who else do we have here? Prime Viacons. That one shocked me as well. Selects Nightbird, I get. Generations Double Dealer, Legacy Double Dealer, the Death Star crossover, a lot of panels on that one. Legacy Armada Optimus Prime, Earthrise Skylinks, Combiner War Skylinks, Studio Series 86 Sludge, the Mind Wipe Dracula crossover, Red Galvatron, the Boba Fett Slave 1 crossover. I don't even remember that, I'm not gonna lie. Universe 2.0 Hot Shot, Titans Return Triptychon because of the hip breakage issue. Legacy, Leo Prime or Lio Convoy. I mean, man, oh man, come on. That thing is brilliant. That one shocked me. MP44, First Edition Optimus Prime. Legacy Skyquake, RID Sideburn, Earthspark Twitch, Selects Jackpot, Beast Wars Retracts, Studio Series Crosshairs, Netflix Megatron, Legends, what is that? Legends Cybertron, Soundwave, Generations Thunderwing because he's just too small, and just for fun at the end, and even though there's a bunch more than this, Universe, Prowl because of his paint stickiness on the doors. Let me know if I mentioned your favorites, or least favorites I should say, biggest regret at the end. Did I mention your biggest regret in the honorable mentions? Did I mention your biggest regret as one of the 10 slots on the list? Voted on by fans, hundreds upon hundreds of votes. It was a ton of work. I do it all each and every week for you guys right there. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. Please, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Stick around, man. Have some fun with us here on the channel. And especially don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday night, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.